He's coming, isn't he?
Who?
Yeah, well, you know who. Morpheus. The 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐬𝐨𝐝𝐞. You know the Sandman. He's back.
In a random church in London, Joanna Constantine, a skilled exorcist, is summoned to heal a princess possessed by a demon. On her arrival, she finds Morpheus waiting for her at the church's entrance. The Lord of Dreams demands an audience with her, but Joanna ignores him and goes on to catch her appointment. She meets the princess alongside her fiancé and chants some Latin words to begin the exorcism. While doing this, Joanna quickly realizes it is not the princess who is possessed like she initially thought, but actually her fiancé. After completing the chant, the demon emerges from the fiancé's mouth and rips him apart while the princess is escorted out of the premises. A fearless Joanna faces the creature head-on and demands his name. Before he can answer, Morpheus arrives and reveals the demon to be 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐿. Learning the demon's name, Joanna begins the process of returning him to hell. 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐬𝐿 pleads with Morpheus to save him and offers to tell him the location of his helm in exchange for help. However, before the Lord of Dreams can interfere, Joanna completes the ritual as 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐿 disappears. After the incident, Morpheus approaches the exorcist and questions her about his sand. In response, Joanna reveals she bought it at a sale, but doesn't recall where it is. Desperate to find his tool, Morpheus explains who he is and the importance of his sand to the human world and the dreaming, as without it, both realities would cease to exist. Convinced, Joanna agrees to help find it, but asks him not to send his pet raven to spy on her. Morpheus is left confused by her request, as he doesn't have a pet raven, but shortly after, notices one close by. Approaching the bird, it introduces itself as Matthew and explains Lucian sent him to be his assistant. Hearing this, Morpheus grows angry at Lucian and commands Matthew to return to the dreaming. The raven, however, turns out to be quite stubborn and refuses to leave. While the duo argues, Joanna slips away and disappears without a trace. Later that night, Morpheus infiltrates Joanna's dream and uses it to find her location. When the exorcist wakes up, she is shocked to discover him in her apartment. Based on her dreams, Morpheus infers Joanna is constantly plagued by nightmares and offers to stop them if she gets him his sand. Eager to get rid of her incessant nightmares, Joanna swiftly searches her apartment for his sand. While she does this, Morpheus discovers a photo reel of Joanna and her ex-girlfriend, Rachel. Seeing Morpheus with the pictures, Joanna recalls leaving the sand at Rachel's apartment as the duo heads over to her place. On reaching there, Joanna enters the apartment first and asks Morpheus to wait behind. Inside, she meets Rachel, with the former lovebirds catching up on their respective lives. Within seconds, things turn steamy as the couple begins making out. Meanwhile, outside the apartment, Morpheus grows impatient and makes his way into the building. As soon as he enters the room, Joanna watches as Rachel turns into sand, revealing she was dreaming the entire time. Morpheus explains his sand is responsible for her visions, and the duo searches the apartment for it. In one of the rooms, they find a withering Rachel holding the sand and stuck in an endless dreamlike state. On Joanna's questioning, Morpheus reveals Rachel got addicted to his sand and used it to conjure dreams for herself. However, this attracted severe consequences as the tool is too powerful for human use. As a result, Rachel's body is deteriorating and nothing can be done to save her, much to Joanna's horror. A while later, Morpheus retrieves the sand and moves to leave, but Joanna begs him to help Rachel. As her body is past saving, Morpheus's only option is to give her a peaceful passing. The Lord of Dreams sprinkles some of his sand and transports Rachel to a utopian paradise as she draws her final breath. Once he's done, Morpheus returns to Joanna and, true to his promise, gets rid of her nightmares. After she leaves, Matthew arrives and with some convincing, gets Morpheus to keep him around. Gaining a newfound pet, the Lord of Dreams continues his quest to retrieve his tools and heads to hell to search for his helm. Meanwhile, back in New York, Ethel and John continue their conversation about the ruby. It turns out John had stolen the jewel from his mother years ago and used it for murder, hence why he ended up in an asylum. Despite her pleas, John has kept the ruby's location hidden for many years and refuses to help her find it. This time, Ethel tries a different approach. She informs John of Morpheus's escape and begs her son to reveal the ruby's location so she can return the stolen jewel before Morpheus finds and punishes them for their theft. Despite telling the truth, John doesn't believe her and brings up all the times she's lied to him in the past, especially about his father, Roderick Burgess. After much back and forth, Ethel gives up on convincing him and instead focuses on a way to protect him. The caring mother shows him the amulet of protection and explains the item has the ability to guard its owner not just from attacks, but also old age, as it stopped her aging process for over 100 years. Ethel then takes off the amulet and gifts it to John, but as a result, her body reverts to its true age and rapidly withers away as she falls to the ground and dies. Seeing this, John finally believes her and decides to retrieve the ruby. Moments later, a guard enters the room and finds Ethel's lifeless body on the floor. The guard holds John at gunpoint and asks him not to move. However, now armed with the amulet of protection, John courageously moves toward the guard. When he doesn't stop moving, the security man shoots at him, but thanks to the amulet's power, the shot backfires and the man explodes into a puddle of blood. John freely leaves his room and grabs the guard's keycard as he moves towards the elevator. When the lift's door opens, he finds two guards pointing guns at him. However, just like the first man, they also explode into blood as John exits the building. Out in the chilly street, John is approached by the Corinthian, who offers him a coat. The unsuspecting criminal accepts the cloth and thanks the nightmare for it. As John exits the scene, the Corinthian stares at him menacingly as he conjures a plan to take down Morpheus.